James, could you just talk a little bit about how the deal sort of came together? And did you think it was something that was going to be, I don't know, easy in any way, or did you have any reservation about whether you guys could come to the terms that would satisfy both sides?
You know, I don't know if I had any real expectation for what that was going to look like when we first started to engage. It's been something that Andrew Barry and I have been working through for the better part of 2 weeks. You know, got to give him a shout out because you know, he made it a seamless process. You know, certainly kept open lines of communication for that duration, and you know, as I think back to where we initially started with it and where we ended, it certainly included some back and forth, but along the way there was a pretty good pulse for what the end was going to look like, and really what executing that once they were on the clock would sort of shape out to be, and the fact that it came to life as seamlessly as it did once the bell rung is something that was fulfilling. And being able to sit here tonight with Travis Hunter as a Jacksonville Jaguar is a vision that Liam, myself, Tony, and the rest of our coaching staff and scouting staff certainly have a collective vision for, and are really interested in getting him here, getting him to the city, letting our fan base begin to feel him, and ultimately his teammates began to get to work with him. Certainly want to take a moment because I know both Liam and I, our wives, had a chance to spend some time with the fan base tonight at Lemon Bar, and they certainly felt like they were at home. Certainly enjoyed that turnout. Gave us a shout to make sure that we made mention of it, because certainly this is an exciting moment in time for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we look forward to what's to come, and certainly appreciate the first question.
Wait, can I ask a follow-up to Liam? What is your vision? Because Travis gave a very generic answer about how he would be utilized here. You know, basically saying, you know, whatever the coaches think and what have you. What is your vision for him? Do you see him more as someone who would spend more time on the offensive side of the ball as a support for Trevor that you and both James have sort of proposed in the past, or do you see him, or you see it as kind of a we'll see type situation?
Oh, it's a little bit more than a we'll see, but we do have to be fluid throughout, right? We'll have a plan right now of, you know, primarily on offense with learning the defensive system and practicing on the defensive side of the ball as well throughout this offseason program. And then as we continue to grow, we have to be fluid throughout this whole process. We've had multiple conversations at length with athletic training, equipment, sports science, coaching, equipment, everybody involved about this process and what it's going to look like moving forward. So we have a plan in place, and that's really where we'll start.
For both of you guys, just what is it about Travis that made it so valuable for you guys to move up? You gave up a first-round pick next year, second-round pick, just all those picks. What stands out about Travis to make him that valuable?
You know, I think there's a lot of layers to that. I'll try and touch on a few things, right? First and foremost, we mentioned the idea that a trademark of this leadership group, when there's an opportunity to be bold, we're not going to flinch. I think this is a reflection of that. In the same lens, you've heard us mention the idea of adding people who are intangibly rich. And Travis, in fact, as a player, is rare. But as a person, he's also rare. And beyond that, when we say that the idea of inviting people into our ecosystem who, by being nothing more than who they are, elevate the space, is the epitome of what Travis is. And we're not going to ask him to be any more than him, because by doing so, he elevates not only this football team, not only this city, but the sport itself, right? Along the way, right, you can count however many drafts you want to. There are players who have the capacity to alter a game. There are players who have the capacity to alter the trajectory of a team. There are very few players who have the capacity to alter the trajectory of the sport itself. Travis, while he has a lot to still earn, in our eyes, has the potential to do just that. And so it's an exciting step for us to take, and obviously a lot of work to be done, because while Travis's dream is now reality, he's still dreaming in a different way than most do. He prepares in a different way than most do. But now it's time to bring it to life.
Just Liam, if you could just add on to that, what stands out to you from a coach's perspective about Travis?
First and foremost, the competitor. The ability to play on obviously both sides of the football as just a player in general. The snaps that he takes, the preparation, the accountability, the way that he's in the building at 5 a.m. training his body. He's a 4.0 student and goes out on the field and impacts the game. Right, on both sides of the ball, he impacts the game. He's got a great feel for the game itself. When he's on the offensive side of the ball, finding zones in the defense, he's got really good ball skills. He can do something with it after the catch, and then on the defensive side of the ball, he finds it. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do here is continue to find people that can help us get our hands on the ball on the defensive side and go impact the game in that way.
He told us that he hadn't spoken. Oh, okay.
No, I'm saying this next. Go ahead, finish,
Okay.
please. Sorry.
That he hadn't spoken with anybody from the Jaguars since the combine. Can you two recount your one-on-one or personal interactions with him throughout this process?
Yeah. That's an interesting one, because we hadn't touched base with him. We had touched base with his agents, his reps, just to get a pulse for what was going to unfold over the course of the first 4 picks, with the idea that we were sitting at 5. But nonetheless, it's very easy to feel that Travis has gravity. And when he walks into a room, the light turns on. And regardless of if the electricity is actually, in fact, switched up. But that was a moment that definitely resonated with us, and his engagement with our coaching staff, the questions that he was asking as we were walking through some of his film and some of the install specific to the plays that we run. It was really telling of the mind that he has, the curiosity, the interest in growth. There's certainly a vivid visual for why he is where he is based off of that 15-minute interaction. But obviously, like I've articulated in the past, the weight of a singular touch point like that doesn't hold much in our eyes, as opposed to some of the sourced intel over the course of a player's life, whether it's at Colorado for him, at Jackson State, or back to high school and earlier. So certainly feel good about that interaction, feel good about the process, and not sort of tipping the hand as it related to what we were going to do here tonight. But that's probably where we're at.
Mike, when you guys were coming up with your draft plan, was it, we're going to go get Travis Hunter, or was it more like, hey, let's call the Browns and see if we can work something out and maybe we can get up there?
That's a great question, because I think it could go either way. And really the way in which it settled for us, we had our initial dialogue without that in mind, and just wanted to discuss the players in silos, get the take on how we would utilize each, and really our vision for their utilization. And over the course of time, as we began sleeping with our thoughts, right, the idea of this combination of players, or this player in and of himself, is now going to be a Jaguar once we make this selection, it got us to a point where Travis Hunter was most settling. And we engaged in those conversations with the idea that, hey, this is more than likely going to be a stretch. It's probably not going to be something that we'll be able to bring to life. Let's just go in with that expectation so we're not ultimately disappointed. And when things began to sort of grow and accelerate over the course of those conversations, obviously you become more firm in your stance and your pursuit. And so certainly happy with the way that it unfolded here tonight.
Did you guys get the framework of the deal done with essentially agreeing unofficially today, yesterday, last night, or when was that?
I don't know when it was exactly. It wasn't today or yesterday, so it was before that. But we had agreed on the framework, and then it was just sitting with it all the way up until they were on the clock.
Medium, small, then more.
How do you look at the draft capital? Was there ever any pause about moving the future pick?
Oh, you know what? I probably got some familiarity with the them picks sort of process. So for our fans, I'll tell you, don't be scared. This is something I'm uniquely positioned to navigate, and we ended up with we ended up bringing Travis Hunter to Jacksonville, and with that, he is somebody who is deserving of a first-round draft pick as a wide receiver, and he is worthy of a first-round draft pick as a corner. Certainly look forward to each of those elements showing themselves over the next few years while he's under his rookie contract. But, yeah, we're excited about just getting him in the boat, so to speak.
You don't get, you get one chance to make a first impression. Why was it so important to come away with a big splash and to really start your tenure like this?
Yeah, I think this was certainly a statement for, how we plan to move, how we plan to operate. I think we did a lot of talking up to this point and wanted to make sure that we showed through action exactly what those words mean. And I think that this is certainly a reflection of a lot of the catchphrases, or so to speak, catchphrases that may have been presumed as much, but this is a real visual representation of what all of that means.
A couple more just to leave some meat on the bone for John.
Liam, adding obviously Travis or having Brian, adding De'Arming free agency, is this the kind of support and firepower you envisioned putting around Trevor when you first got this job?
Yeah, a little bit. You're always trying to add competition and playmakers, right? There's so many schemes that you can devise and execute, and ultimately when you have players that can win on their own and do something with the ball on their own, I can't really coach that, and defensive coordinators can't really coach for that. So ultimately you're looking for players, can they win on their own, and can they impact our offense in that way? Yes, he does, and that is what we were looking to do in so many ways. Try to address the ability to block up front in the pro free agency and get some more help there and competition at that positions on the O-line, and try to go get this guy here.
Liam, have you heard from any of your players, perhaps any fun anecdotes you can share?
Eric Armstead FaceTimed us right after, and you could not hear. He could not hear us. It was crazy there, but he was like, "Hey man, this is." He was great. He said, "Way to make a first impression," And Josh Hines Allen texted me, excited. Trevor as well, and so that's been fun. Right?
You want to talk about being agile? So I think Eric was originally slotted to do
the second round pick.
The second round pick,
Yeah.
and he had hit me up at breakfast the other morning. It was like, "Oh, looking forward to the opportunity heading up this evening. It should be a blast." I'm thinking in the back of my mind, I'm like, should I give him the heads up? No, but they pivoted and they remained agile. They're in real time in Green Bay, and the atmosphere there certainly looked great.
Justin.
James, you mentioned being bold and not flinching, but I want to ask, where does that confidence come from? Because as multiple people have alluded to, this is your first draft. It's going to be tied to your tenure here. So where do you get that confidence from?
Oh, you know what? I think preparation helps with that. I think at the same time, just over the course of your life, you probably experience moments in which you didn't do something out of fear, and you also experience the moments that you sort of take the leap and begin to level and balance the sensations that come with each. And I know every step that I didn't take that related to fear, I regret it. And so that's not something I intend on doing the rest of my life. So I think it's also something that I would, if ever giving advice to anybody, which I don't say I should do all that often, because each of us should sort of build off of our own experiences or observing those of others. But not being scared is something that goes a long way. Courage goes a long way. I can tell you with that, right, and with inexperience, that's where fear starts to set in. And the fear of the unknown is something that if you can work past, there's no telling what you can get to. And so I think certainly wanted to reflect that not only in tonight's actions, but in every action that we take in our normal modes of operation. We still have 9 picks on the horizon. And as much as we're excited about what took place here today, we're excited about getting back to work and bringing those players into this ecosystem to continue to level it up by being, again, nothing more than who they are.
I also want to ask about the football that you brought in. I've seen the pictures of you holding it. What, is there a story there? Or?
You know what? I don't know. It probably makes sense because Liam probably feels very similar, right? When you grow up in a football family or in a world of sport, life feels a little better when a ball's in your hand. And so I guess you can just say it's some version of a fidget spinner, right? And so Liam and I, it's also like the power of touch. It's our version of touch with each other.
Yeah.
We can toss a ball back and forth, brainstorming. So it's become a version of a bridge, right? It's I don't even know what the game is called, but when you're like in elementary school and you're in a circle and you pass the, I don't know, whatever the ball. Yeah, hot potatoes. But then you like say something, and then the other, no, it's your turn. You introduce yourself, tell us something interesting. It's a cool little mechanism that brings us together in a way as well. But yeah, so no real deep meaning behind it other than it's just a toy. Yeah.
Wrap it up with Hayes. Last question.
Can you spin it?
I mean,
He can catch it.
He can catch it.
And
Yeah.
spin it.
You can spin it.
He can spin
Correct.
it too, though.
that makes more sense.
He's hit the goalpost more than I have.
It usually takes quite a few times.
He can spin it.
Liam, how does Travis's extraordinary offensive talent pair with what Brian Thomas can do on the other side for you guys with the potency of those two guys
Yeah,
offensively?
I think just adds another layer for the defense, right? For them to have to defend against or not maybe be able to double team one side of the field or lean a safety which way. Man, BT working with him over the last few days was really impressive. Really impressive. Yeah, freak. So that was exciting, and to be able to have this opportunity now to, continue to add to that room, because that room this week I thought did a great job. All the guys, Deami Parker, all those guys that were out there competing did a great job, and this just only adds to the competitiveness in that room, as well as to the team, because it's going to be multiple positions here. So, yeah, that was pretty cool.
Gentlemen, thank you. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.